All right, here we go. So this morning at about 6 a.m., we arrested the second suspect in the Capital City Club murder that occurred on July 8th at about midnight. The subject's name in this arrest is Torrance Fleetwood. He's a 19-year-old male. He has an extensive criminal history. He's been arrested 10 times as an adult, which is a relatively short time frame to include the most significant charge being robbery. He's a convicted felon and he's currently on probation. He was arrested at his residence at 432 Iris Street and was brought into homicide for questioning. He's then been transported to the Fulton County Jail. This will conclude the arrests in this case. Everybody that's needed to be arrested has been arrested. So we have everyone identified, so this case is considered closed from an arrest standpoint. Now we're just waiting for prosecution. As many of you know, the case was fairly tragic. These four people were waiting on an Uber. They were robbed randomly. The suspects were out looking for vehicles to break into. They just see these four people. They decide to rob them because they appear to be easy or soft targets. They get out of the car. They rob all four people. One of the gentlemen decides to go after the one robber, to discourage him from his behavior. He's subsequently shot. Over the course of a couple of weeks, his injuries become more serious, and he eventually passed away. So we've concluded this case with these arrests. What led to finding this most recent suspect? Was it a clue from Myrick, or things become that? So some other people in the vehicle have identified this subject. I don't know if Myrick was one of them, but I know that there were some other witnesses and some other information that came to light. He shows up on a video in a Walmart that's related to a receipt that was located in the stolen vehicle at the time that we recovered it. So we used that photograph, and then we were able to get him later identified through other witnesses.
Can you speak about his previous criminal history and why he was able to be with Myrick at the time this happened?
So, kind of the deal here is I don't know how those two are totally connected exactly. So I do know that the two of them were out, they freely, based on conversation, they've admitted that they were out looking for cars to break into. So they're out kind of committing criminal activity. That would be consistent with the criminal history we've already seen for Mr. Fleetwood. He's only been an adult for a couple of years. He already has 10 arrests. He's a convicted felon and he's on probation. He's also a known gang member, he's not made the best choices in life very early on, and so he's really gotten himself into a pretty significant situation here. He tragically took this person's life or was involved in the crime.
You said he was arrested this morning at his residence. Is it his residence or is it his parents' residence?
It's the place where he lives. I don't know if his mother lives there. I don't know any of those details.
When you arrested him this morning, what was his state? Was he cooperative? Was he trying to escape?
There's nothing in the report that indicates different than that. I believe that it was pretty inconsequential. They were able to take him into custody without any problem. I think he was asleep.
Was he a part, do we know, of like a transformation program or something like Myrick at all while on his probation, or how are the two associated?
Right, we don't have anything that shows that. So I think that they just know each other, and how they know each other exactly, I don't know. But they're not both a part of the same transition thing or part of the same probation thing that I've been made aware of related to any arrest.
Can you talk about maybe officers' frustration? And he's only been an adult the last couple of years, and he's already had 10 arrests. How frustrating is that for officers to, again, we've got this cycle where you arrest him, he gets out. You arrest him, he gets out. You arrest him.
I think that we underestimate the amount of crime that occurs in this city based on offenders that we've already arrested that don't receive any significant jail time. This is a recurring theme. It's one we bring up frequently. It's of great frustration to the men and women of the police department because oftentimes we have locked up the right people for the right crimes to have little or nothing happen to them, and then they're out back walking the streets in very short order, and more serious crimes occur and we end up arresting the same people. So it's truly frustrating. It might be the biggest source of frustration in a police officer's life is having to deal with that situation.
You believe he was driving the car? Did he share any news about what they were talking about or how they planned to execute this, or it was just randomly?
So, I mean, the only information I have is that I know for a fact that they were out attempting to break into cars. That had been discussed. They happened across this location. It wasn't a target. It's not like they went there on purpose. They happened across it. There's these 4 people who are unfortunately standing in front of the club waiting on an Uber that just hasn't shown up yet. And they just see that as a target of opportunity. I don't know that there was a lot of sophisticated organization or planning. I think it was fly by the seat of your pants, and we have an unfortunate set of circumstances.
Can you talk a little bit more about the police work? I mean, you mentioned, you know, the car, a receipt in the, you know, the bottom of the car that led to Walmart, and just take us through some of the police work again, if you could.
Yeah, so that was really pretty phenomenal. We were able to get on top of this really quickly. So we were able to use some data that we have from some of our systems, our LPR systems, to identify the vehicle fairly quickly. The vehicle's recovered the following day within 12 hours down in South Fulton. We get notified that the vehicle's recovered, so we shoot down there, secure it, process it. During that processing, we were able to get several other clues to include this Walmart receipt. So we go back to Walmart and look for the people to show up. We have a time frame for the receipt, so we know right when they were at the cash register, so who we're looking for. And, you know, between all of that and the stuff that we get from the vehicle, we're able to process this information, and we're able to identify the people in the vehicle fairly quickly after that. So from the time of the initial shooting to the time of arrest, I think was within 7 days. That's pretty impressive.
Thank you, Major.